Hey, good morning, everybody. Bright and early Tuesday morning. How are you? Let's take a look before we talk about GameStop. Let's talk about yesterday. I'm just going to open this SPY chart very quickly. I don't know if you guys caught that yesterday. There was a headline, I think it was CNBC. I'm going to pull up the 1 minute chart just so we can look at this. It was quite ridiculous, to be honest. So, CNBC, I'm not sure where the headline came. Let me find the time here. I'm going to pull up the 1 minute here, make sure we're all on the same page. Here we go. Okay, so yesterday, I mean, we already saw the gap down with the open because we talked about that during the video. There was the gap down there at the open, and then right here, it was like CNBC. Oh, there might be a pause on the Trump might be pausing tariffs for 90 days. So at that point, right there, SPY was still $495. So we got this is on the 1 minute candle. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So within 8 minutes, boom, SPY 495 headline, and then high of 523. Then the White House says we didn't say that. Boom, right back down. That's crazy. You know, a lot of people always talk about fraud or the market's rigged or manipulation in the market. You can call that whatever you want right there. That's a spicy move. Look at all the volume that pours in, and then, yeah, just a big trap in that regard. To note, though, SPY is up this morning as of recording, 517. So it makes all of that look like in the past, you know. I just thought that was interesting. It's like, yeah, I don't know about all that yesterday. I just thought it was pretty interesting. But if you look at SPY yesterday, it did recover some of that, but it's just been gnarly since last week. But, I mean, like we talked about also, we've seen these levels before. We talked about this. We were at the August level, and then we were entering the April 2024 levels, which we saw. Let's see here. Yeah, the last time SPY was down there around 480 was January 31st, 2024. And then February of 2024. And then the lowest recent, let's see, 493, April 19th of 2024. So, yeah, we've seen that level before. I know. But let's go over to GameStop here. Let's take a look at that. Because yesterday we had posted about, we talked about the $25 calls in the morning. We saw some of that open interest. Those things went from $30 to $120. Not a bad rip. Because GameStop saw a high yesterday of 25.02. To note here, let's look at those moving averages over there on the top left corner today. So we can see here, we note that 50-day cross slicing through the 200 just a little bit. So not something you want to see because typically that stands like a medium, short term, or even long term bearish stance. But sometimes with stocks and technical analysis, it all comes down to price, volume, and the option flow anyway. But as of yesterday, you had your 50-day EMA at 24.77, but the high of day yesterday at 25.02. And then the 200-day was at 24.81. So GameStop at 24.28. As of recording right now, which is an hour and a half before the market opens, 24.77 is the current GameStop price. So trading right there around exactly right on the money on its 50-day moving average. So some will look at, the volume. We talked about that short volume. It did tick up a little bit on April 4th on Friday. I would assume some of that related to the expiry. And then yesterday's short volume just at about 4 million shares. Because we did see some bullish flow, a little bit of flow there on Friday. We talked about that with the premium. So if we look at that and we go back to the premium there, this was on Friday. We saw that high net call premium, over 4 million. Hadn't seen that, for a couple of weeks. So if we take a look at yesterday on Monday, what was actually traded, we had about 340,000 net premium, nearly 50 mil in total premium. Now net call premium wasn't in the millions, it was still positive, and net put premium though did decrease. You can see some of those puts being wound down, position closed out, especially as the stock rallied there to 25.02. You saw some of those puts coming off the table. So we'll take a look at all of them, but the flow yesterday was positive in that regard. So we take a look here at the highest contracts, and we'll take a look at where some of that money was spent. I'll let you get your screenshot here, or you can pause and record if you need to add this data to your files or to your records, whatever you do. Let's take a look, though, yesterday on the volume. Let's make sure we got the most accurate day here. April 7th. It just seemed light on that volume. Okay, there we go. Let's see, the $25 calls. Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about yesterday. The 30 calls for this week, 30 for next week. I'll let you get your screenshot. Here's your volume, current open interest on the right. Here's your prices. Here's your strike. Here's your expiry. Again, typically with GameStop, a lot of short dated. Usually week in, week out, it's the current week expiry, short dated opportunities. But let's look at those 25s because, like I said, on Friday, we were seeing some of those get alerted there on unusual whales. Let me pull up this information here. Yeah, April 4th in the open, those were around 30 bucks, like I said yesterday during my post. And they popped yesterday. Let's see, high at 98, high 99 fill. I think there were higher fills than that because the high was 126. Now, there was 26,000 volume yesterday, over 2.2 million total premium traded, but only 1,700 appeared in new open interest. So more than likely, like I talked about, some day trading, some, I buy them low, sell them high for profit, sell them high, buy them back, contracts trading hands. So open interest didn't change a whole lot with all of that activity and the volume and the premium yesterday. But even yesterday, those contracts got alerted on unusual whales again, and we're filling at $63. So if you jumped on that with that alert and decided to follow and had the same conviction, they ran to 103. So $40, about an 80% move or 60, 70% move. Not bad on a short dated contract in that regard. So you can definitely see where they were buying them back down here and then selling them for profit. You see that pretty often. So pretty strong premium in that regard. The 30s saw volume yesterday as well. Those are out of the money. See, about 22% away, but there was about 500,000 in total premium yesterday. Let's see, 17,000 volume, about 6,500 new open interest. You see a lot of bid volume, you see a lot of ask volume. So again, split between buyers and sellers. Some traders betting on GameStop to be 30 or higher by Friday. Some betting that it won't be 30, and they'll just collect their premium if they're selling covered calls. Some may just be looking for a spike in the IV just to make some option premium, because if the IV fluctuates or takes a big move, you could make or lose some more money in that regard. So that was on the 30s yesterday, and the 30s for next week also. I did see a note of pretty large. Let's see, 11,000 volume total, 1,800 new open interest. So open interest around 30,000. Pretty large sell candle there. Let's see, about 2,100 volume, good for about 90,000. So this could be a trader that sold, that didn't think GameStop would close above 30 next week, and they're looking to sell covered calls and captured $41 a contract. So as long as GameStop didn't close above $30 next week, if this particular trader sold all of these calls, like his covered calls, or sold to open, they're going to bank that $88,000 in premium. Not too bad. Not too bad for a short-dated opportunity. The $22 puts also saw activity yesterday. I would assume a little more bid than ask. Let's see, bid. Yeah, there was some buyers on there. So I did see that large alert come through at 72, and then they fell down to 40. So filling at $72 down at 40. So let's zoom that out. That could be bought back what was being sold. So if we take a look at some of that activity, it's always important to look at the history here. Could have been buying here. It might be some more buying in that regard. So you look over the last 7 days, ask volume, 6,800. Bid volume. So it's matched, meaning equal like buys and sells. So you got both types of traders here. Both selling the puts, hoping that they expire out of the money and they keep the premium. And those buying puts, maybe because they want to capture premium, they think the stock price won't hold, or they want to bank on the implied volatility being up. So the IV did go up a little bit on those as well yesterday. Total premium about 600,000. So we'll say, like I said here, you can look at everything that was on here. Let's see the 25s for next week. Someone did splash those there too. I saw that towards the afternoon, about 2,100 volume filled around $130 a contract for $25 calls for next week. Now about 1.1 mil total premium, not bad. Now there was a lot of volume yesterday, 9,400. But only about 10% of that appeared new open interest. So something to definitely look at. Somebody might have bought these back after selling. For example, if you were selling them over here at 55, you might have bought them back. You would hope not. I would assume more selling here and then buying them back, or buying here and selling for profit. So as GameStop pulled down a little bit last week, that might have been what happened here. So you kind of look at that volume as the price moves. Buyers, and then boom, sell. You never really know. So $25 call, and you see that, but the open interest didn't grow a lot from yesterday. But doesn't mean that the contracts still aren't there and open. Could have just meant, somebody might have sold a bunch of contracts, closed the position, and now you have the contracts, and they're essentially still open. Open interest can be kind of mysterious in that way. So go ahead and get your screenshot there so you can take a look at everything. Let's see, the 23s for this week. Because I know those boomed as well yesterday. Yeah, because they were filling around 120 at the open and saw around 200 towards midday. But shortly after the morning, they saw a high of 215 because GameStop saw $25. And we just talked about that. We talked about, those. Yesterday, we talked about the May calls as well showing up. We talked about the positioning of traders in May and June. Seeing some more of that activity for the 25 calls. Again, $1 million in total premium. Of that volume, about only 10% of it appeared new open interest. A little more selling than buying. So something we'll take a look at as it materializes. Like I said, GameStop, the 25 call for May 16th, with GameStop being 24.68 currently. It's kind of right there, pretty close to the money. So let's take a look historically how these 25s have shaped up, because we talked yesterday about a lot of people were buying dips on some of these contracts just because they were down in value from where they had been. For example, these 25 calls for May at one point were $600. And on last Thursday, they were $100 a piece. So, yes, the contracts do move there. So, definitely interesting in that position. We'll take a look at that gamma as well so we can see where that positioning is at. More than likely, high open interest around the $25 level would be my guess. That's exactly what I'm going to guess here without looking first. Let's see here. Yep, highest open interest right there at 25. And then 26, 27, 28, 29, 29.5, and 30. So as we talked about that. So what we're looking at here is this. Oh, pardon me. Go back to that. I backed up. All right, let me get back to that here real quick. All right, here's your spot gamma there like we talked about. And that's just the assumed dollar value gamma exposure market makers have. So for every 1% change of the price, this would be the exposure the market makers have of gamma. A positive value is long gamma. Negative value is short gamma. So we look at that over here. There's your gamma. About 16 mil per 1% price change. Net gamma exposure 2.6 million shares in that regard. So yeah, it does, like we talked about before, it's just like last summer. Things start moving up and get a little more spicy as price were to get closer to 25, as more of those calls become in the money. So if you look at the gamma exposure by strike, it's important. Highest net gamma at that 25 and 30 levels. So GameStop sees 25, starts moving above that. You start introducing these higher gamma levels at the $26 through $30 strikes. So you can see, though, the net gamma pretty juicy at 25. So that's why you're seeing the price kind of be around that area. So let's see, CallGex, 3.52 million shares. So if you want like daily gamma exposure, just the assumed gamma exposure market makers are exposed to. It's assumed that funds are protecting their money by selling calls, buying puts, and the market makers provide the liquidity to facilitate these trades. So they just assume that the transactions are buying calls, selling puts to investors hedging their portfolios. That's what daily gamma exposure is. And then we take a look at that delta here. That highest net delta again at the 25 on the call side, and the net delta at 30. So you can see the put delta is there, but not a lot. Not like the net delta. So I mean the 20 already, which is in the money, and that 25, that's been a level like it was last year. I know we talked about that $25 level when the stock was 22, 23. Couldn't really get there, and then it did. So when you see those gamma levels and gamma ramps start building as price moves towards that, if the say GameStop opens to 25 and higher and holds 25, all of those calls are essentially in the money, which then brings back the idea exactly what we were just talking about of the spot gamma exposure, and that the positive value is long gamma, and negative value is short gamma, but that underlying stock price, it moves up, you're going to see this number move up where it gets a little bit more expensive to manage that gamma. And with the highest at 25, definitely an area, if you're a market maker, you definitely wouldn't want to see necessarily it go to 25, as it may shift some of your hedging and your portfolio, as all of those calls would then go in the money. So definitely something to always look at. It's not just about this, it's not just about that. There's always multiple variables there. Let's see the charm here. And that 25 right there, call charm, put charm. Yeah. And then the Vanna exposure. It's spicy at 25, spicy at 30. Yeah. And that put Vanna, not really there. So, yeah, I'm not saying the stock's going up. I'm just saying that the put gamma is not there. The call volume and the call gamma is there. It's just it all comes down to follow through. It all comes down to volume, price, what the stock does, the continued option flow. But let's take a look at the where the bulk of the money was spent on GameStop on Monday with the option chain. We'll let you take a look at that and sort it out here. Here's your premium column. So these are going to be the top contracts by premium here. And there you go, that $25 level again. See 25s for January. Let's see what happened there, because we talked about those during Monday's video. So if you didn't catch it, go back. Let's see here, 4,100 volume yesterday, but nearly 3 mil in total premium, and about 3,000 in new open interest. So let's see bid side and ask. So 25 January, slightly out of the money, but just right there, So these could have been good fills, and that they're showing bid as if they're sold, but the reality is could have got a good fill. So it's going to be denoted on unusual whales at bid based on what you paid, but you might have actually bought that, because open interest did increase about the amount of what was sold at the bid. So let's take a look at that here. We can try to take a look sometimes with the spot and how that's filled. So I usually look for the large sizes here. So we'll sort those by size, and we can look at the fills. So these first ones were filled close to the bid there, bid as well. But then right in between there, you can see they hit the ask. So they might have been adjusting the bid and the ask themselves, because this was part of a greater flow alert on unusual whales. So about 500,000 premium, 2,400 volume, and these all came through at the ask side for the 25, which are right there at the money with a January expiry. So that's pretty awesome. That particular trader bought themselves some time in that regard. So definitely cool to see. There's been a little bit of money there, so we'll take a look at that. Let's see, 480. Some of that could have come off the table just because of the change in price the last couple of days. Let's zoom it out to the 3-day. I don't really see any big buy candles that would say I bought all these and then sold them. So we'll continue to follow those 25s for January. The 30s also showed up for December of 27. So yeah, kind of getting out there on the expiry. I saw that big block come through for about $950,000 there. They were filling it. Let's see, $1,000 a contract, about 1,000 there. And then these came through at 1050, so 1.5. So let's look at that. 2,600 volume yesterday, 2,650 new open interest. That's kind of what you want to see. All the volume come over new open interest. About 2.7 mil total premium. Bid and ask. This kind of concerns me here. Not concerning, it looks as if someone sold that position just based on the bid, and it was flow alerted. Let's see, what were they paying? 1050. Yeah, that's pretty low on that's definitely on the bid side. Definitely sold on those particular, at least that particular set. Let's see on this flow alert as well. 1050. See how the spot price 1050 is right at the bid. So if they were buying these, they would have ended up paying 11.25 or closer to that. Now it's possible they got a good fill at 1050 by buying them, but I highly doubt that. I'll get good fills sometimes, but that would just be an incredible fill. And that's December 27, $30 call. So definitely something interesting And we'll watch that as GameStop moves. Let's look at GameStop price just right now while we're doing the actual video here. 24.73. I was just trying to keep tabs on it through the video. So definitely watch that because that volume right there, 25.19, is almost all of what appeared new open interest. So we'll take a look at that over the next few days. We'll see how it materializes. A lot of time to expiry. I mean, it could have just been a quick flip in that regard. Bought 1,000 of them here for $1 million, and then sold them for 500 G's. You know what I mean? That's possible. An open interest increase because the contracts traded hands. So you have multiple ways to look at it. It won't just tell you, hey, I bought this or hey, I sold that. You gotta really kind of break down the flow and take a look at it. But unusual whales makes it a little bit easier in that regard. $85 puts, we talked about those as well. Deep in the money puts and the reason for that. If you want to go back to Monday's video, I talk about that, why that's happening, where your price is at. It's $85 put. It's in the money. And as the price moves up, let's look at how these were the last few days in value. So the value's gone down just a little bit, which it would as the price moved up. So, but they are a deep in the money put in that regard. What else do we see? The 25s for this week were also on there as the top premium. We talked about that. 2.2 premium yesterday, and I posted about it yesterday morning. So I don't know if everybody watches the videos. I put them out there. I don't care if anybody does or everybody does, but try to throw a few bones in there for those that are watching close. 24s for this week, the 30s for January, and then those 25s again for May. Those were your top premium contracts traded yesterday. So here's your premium column. Here's your volume. Here's the actual contracts. You're welcome to pause, take a screenshot there, have that for your information. Because that's why I said that $25 level is kind of what it's about. With GameStop, it's the same thing. It's what it was about last year. It was a $25 level, and when things got to 25, stock got a little more volatile. Option premiums got a little bit more juicy. Volume on the common shares picked up. And that's just kind of what happened with the stock, and you saw it here, as explained in the video with the gamma in that regard. So let's, like I said, we'll take a look at the chart here. 24.73, and like I said already, we're right there at the 50-day moving average. The 200-day moving average at 24.81. So let's look at the 9-day moving average. Yesterday was 23.23, so trading above that. And then the 21 EMA moving average. Yesterday 23.62. So positive move above that. You just want to see the trend continue. The trend continues or it doesn't. It's your what do they always say? The trend is your friend until it isn't. I know. We've been here before at GameStop. You've seen it. You've seen the flow. But yeah, yesterday, how about that? Board member Larry Chang, he grabbed another 500,000 shares of GameStop at $21.54. So he bought those April 3rd. Now sitting on 83,000 shares in. He started a fund, or not started a fund, but moved it from his name into the entity Chang Capital LLC. So shout out to you, Larry. Added a 5,000 in the open market. 21.54. I thought was funny because, Ryan Cohen bought shares on the 4th as well. Or pardon me, on the 3rd. And I believe that, I'm pulling it up here. 21.55. So Larry Chang actually beat Ryan Cohen's fill by a penny. That's pretty awesome. So let's take a look at the volume this morning, clocking through NASDAQ. On GameStop and pre-market, about 194,000. Okay, let's take a look at S&P this morning, ahead of the market open. Just want to see that price. I know we looked at 518. I know it looks a lot better than it did at, what was that low yesterday in pre-market? 481. Yeah, wow. It's kind of wild. We thought, oh, SPY back then, when it couldn't get to 500, everyone's like, yeah, and then SPY at 600, yeah, and then when you see it 550 and then back under 5, it's just kind of, wow, we haven't seen that before. So definitely something interesting, but I thought that was pretty cool that Larry also grabbed himself another 5,000 shares. So, but yeah, that's what I talked about yesterday. Here was yesterday's video. I posted it within 20 minutes of the open and even an opportunity on those $25 calls. So they're filling for 30 on Friday and now 120. So that was not too shabby. A short dated opportunity there. So we'll definitely be watching. Watch the flow. Be watching the GameStop. Any news this morning? Pardon me there. Nope. I don't see any news. I don't see any new filings other than what we reported already, which was just Larry Chang adding another 5,000 shares. There you go. Not too bad. But that's what I got for you this morning. Hopefully you tuned in bright and early. Hopefully I didn't take up too much of your time, but I probably already did. If you watched the video all the way through, you're a legend for that. Why don't you reply to this video if you watched it all the way through? Reply to this post on X, Wolf of My Street. And I'll know you watched today's video all the way through. But happy trading. Stay safe out there. As always, manage your risk. Preserve your capital. Take good trades. Cut your losing trades quickly. I know everyone says take good trades. We all try to. Yep, and you're not going to win them all. And you're not going to lose them all either. It all comes down to your strategy, your investment objectives. And if all of that's just too uncomfortable for you, you're always welcome to hire professionals out here who will manage it and answer all of your questions and offer you a fiduciary responsibility behind it. I'm just here always to happily share data and always happy to help. So you guys have a fabulous day, and we'll see you lurking around the internet very soon.